So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end as per Yirmiyahu the prophet. We find in the time of restoration and also reduction from Mitchiyahu, then the first rider of the spring feast, preparing us then for the autumn feast yet coming in the future. So then, there are many areas of the world's market transitioning themselves, because many people are involved with the world's market at the moment, and there are lots of uncertainties of what to do and what not. Technology, for instance, is absolutely out of control. So let's try to understand from a prophetic understanding related from Daniel what it means of these PC or personal computer era, some people considering then exhausted or then obsoleted. Let's try to understand where this is going then. The situation is, let's evaluate what the angel spoke with Daniel. The angel said, at the end of the time of the 1,000 years of deceit, it would come a time where their knowledge would increase. So let's understand how then the market was in 2009. The time of deceit we find from 6009 to 7009, or then from the most popular calendar 1009 to 2009, the time of deceit, time of devil, devilish time. We are during the time of the dragon. We are no longer during the time of the devil. So let's understand what the angel said regarding then the prophecy of the time of restoration. The angel obviously was very precise when he was speaking of the increasing of knowledge. The angel was explaining this. It would come a time at the end where then the knowledge basis would be so high to a point where then the introduction of the restoration was a must. So whatsoever must be done for the restoration period, as far as the tabernacling and Gentile level. Because when we read Yirmiyahu, the 61st chapter, you understand. Speaks of the cities of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. Those are returning. And the Gentiles or the heathen would then be part of this restoration period as Gentiles, not as tabernacling. They are linked with tabernacling, but they are from the world. What does this then translate? Translates simply, easily, the understanding of there was a time of a peak of knowledge, from then on was restoration. What do we understand of restoration? We understand of a Gentile level, then in the future, freighters in charge. So during this time, until freighters are in charge of then Gala 1:8. From the time of 2009, we find a gap of time where then knowledge is no longer important. For the development of the events of the time of restoration, knowledge had reached its peak in 2009. So to get the job done during this time of restoration, whatsoever was in 2009 should remain as it was. Because what's coming in the future requires a decent computer to get the many transactions going. And it's going to require a PC or a computer where you have then an established station, where you can become then stationary, or then you have to use a unit capable of doing so many thousands of transactions at the same time. Quite honestly, if you are becoming an investor, where you are going to invest then in 900,000 times 1,000 times 100 times 5,000 times 10,000 of products. If you have a telephone, more than likely you won't have enough space in it. Because not only the broadband must change, we have to have a broadband with the velocity of a bank. Has to change. The system coming must have reliability. You have to have a decent computer to do this storage of information. A telephone won't be able to hold so much information. You can have, for instance, a record of your dealings with the company, but then in an event you have then to have a recording of the system to serve you as a recording piece, so then you can understand what goes on in the future if any situation takes place. You have to have a backup system recording this information. In the event there is a problem with the system, more than likely won't, but if there is, you have to have a backup of the deals that you already have done. You can't do this in a telephone. You have to have a computer. So that's what we have learned from 2009. Those times were the very peak of the knowledge required to get this time of restoration then restored. So you can't do thousands of transactions at the same time using a telephone. You have to have a decent computer, a decent unit with a nice broadband, very fast, and obviously having a 5-decker hard drive, maybe a couple of terabytes each, so then you can have your information stored properly. So you have the peace of mind every time you do a transaction, you have a copy of it in your computer. You can't do this while working on the road. I mean, there is a limit of the amount of transactions you can do while walking on the park. You have to have a backup system with you every time with a very huge capacity. So let's understand then the area of a stationary system. You have to have a certain knowledge and certain stationary sense of having a backup system to copy what you do. So then we in this country, we don't get caught in this technology nonsense. Because whatsoever we find in the technology these days is merely nonsense. What was required back then was a decent computer, can hold much information, and this computer unit must have enough space to record what you have done. This is what is required. So can a person say, is the PC then done away with? Of course not. This is precisely what people must have. Because we must watch ourselves from 2009. At the end of this period of time, the end of the seat would have increase of knowledge, and with it the restoration period. Whatsoever was in 2009 should be used. This means a regular computer with a CPU, 5-decker, then over there with a hard drive, 5 of them, you can stock up your information. A simple system so you can work through it, so then you can start earning. But not only this, you're going to link up other people with your dealings. You're going to link up your funding with somebody else. You're going to be involved with forming your own company. So you have to have a record in your computer and send it instantly. You have to have space to do this. With a telephone, you can barely move with a damn thing. Some of these junky telephones is a joke. You have a piece of plastic or a tiny pad with a pen. You kind of have to tickle around with it and try to get transactions done. This is crazy. person has to sit down, have a decent desk, a nice CPU, nice and spacious, and do the work as a normal computer person. So then we can prepare ourselves and understand we must have other objectives in mind. What was in 2009 should be the standard. So a basic computer, very nice, fast computer, basic, with a 5-decker or 5 hard drives, 2 terabytes each, should be more than enough for what's coming. And then we have to update our ports. How then the people they are going to get their parcels? And we have to understand further, because not only you can get a pair of pens, but you can get also your basics. You know, chips, you can get many other items, such as then jerky, you can get your oil, you can get your basic groceries via the system. So then your grocery visit every time at the supermarket can be translated, you can order it online. And it's much cheaper because the middleman is gone. So you can go to the supermarket to get your basics, but then because you get then cheaper online, you project a month ahead and you can get at your home, and with sometimes freight at no charge, depending on how much you spend. You can get fish, you can get meat, you can get powder milk, you can get creamer or any kind of other item for a half of the price. But for you to be in a position of receiving this luxury, we have to update our ports. Our ports can't handle these number of transactions then reflected of freighting. Freighting those requests takes space. But our country is not prepared yet. We are not even taxing as we should have. So can then the people understand it's not the technology, it is the volume. We are speaking of volume and then strategy. Quite interesting, because even the most simple advertisements coming from the Pacific, for instance, if you log on and TV1 News from New Zealand, you find then a very nice store over there that deals with sticky notes. Quite interesting. The first topic of the example of their sticky notes is volume. The second is strategy. Isn't it interesting? If you post these very nice and simple advertisement in America, people would not understand. But because we are not in the Pacific, we are in the midst of a cloud of incompetent people of our government. But then when you understand the Pacific and they're gearing towards the Asia market, they start with volume and they start with strategy. Fits very importantly, doesn't it? So then you already understand how people are gearing themselves up for the new system coming. Not only this, but then the earthquake department over there, they scoundrelized themselves, they were stealing from the people. Those who went on public, those scoundrels have to get out of there real fast, because they're going to catch them. Personal information of housing, names, location, and then also evaluations, and also what they were stealing from the people became public. People are going to be thrown in jail. You know what this means? The backlog is going to get done. Their subsystem is going to get cleaned, because they can maintain their expenses, because when the realm then is ready to do trade with the Asian market, they can always be in the positive. Very smart. And these mid people, scoundrels stealing and nabbing from behind, they're going to be out of work. So then let's understand volume. In order for us then to reap the benefits of this new system, we have to have an understanding of volume. The volume is going to be increased tremendously. We have to have enough space in the airports. We have to have enough space in our ports. And then the roads must be updated for the number of trucks coming through with containers. We have to understand the freighters then are taking charge. But then if we do not do the work, we can't reap the benefits. So not only people can get their basic groceries online, sometimes for half of the cost, but then you can understand the big superstores, they're going to be nearly closing. Because with the system you can get any product from around the world and you get delivered to your home. So let's try to understand, besides fresh milk or then fresh meat, the rest of it can be purchased online. But then, do we have enough space in our ports? Do we have enough space in our airports? Because we are speaking of volume, we are not talking about technology. We are not talking about computer games. We are not talking about stupid telephones. People are retarded these days. They have these telephones and they walk around, punch this damn piece of pad. Come on, grow up. You have to have a decent computer as it was in '09. Place it aside and let's work in our country, make sure you have instant taxation. But we are a country of retarded people. We are always searching for new technologies. And we are walking around with these headphones and watching television and a tiny computer and a tiny telephone, and people are making lines in the stores to get a stupid telephone. We are returning to our 50s. Try to understand, it is a system where it gives you the power of purchase. But then, the system is as simple as if we were living during the 50s. And the governments are out of the deal. Try to understand, there is no more government. Time of restoration is similar as when the people of Israel, they were then reconstructing the tabernacle many centuries ago. And they were there working in a holy tabernacle. They realigned themselves with instructions. And people, they were being faithful. They were paying their tithes. This is what the Creator is trying to show us. People are responsible, and as long as they understand there is a system that is self-sustaining because of the great power of the Creator showing you, it doesn't have to have a government. Not of this world, but certainly of yet the kingdom to come. But then we are talking of volume. So no longer these junky technologies, these crazy computerized movies. There are some movies you can laugh at it because it's absolutely computer animation. It's a pure piece of junk. People should be thinking of how they should tax the products coming in, so then later the freighters can rely on the government for the basic services, such as updating of ports, updating of the roads, updating then of the air cargo on airports. Otherwise, people won't be able to get the volume they are requesting for. So no more of this nonsense of technology. Technology is a piece of paper where companies with new ideas, they place the ideas then on a piece of paper, and then they forward it. And it's done. Go to the next. Because when the system is available, volume is the ruler. Volume. Speaking of volume. And our inability of dealing with volume is going to set the standards. That's why people are going to get angry with the government. Because they are going to order what they want, they are going to work for their money, they are going to invest their money, they are going to receive their investments, and they won't receive their products. People are going to get angry in the future because the government is not doing its job at the moment. If we were instructed regarding the holy instructions earlier, we would have taken action a long time ago. But not only we are far behind the schedule, then our government decided to waste a lot of money in the Ozarks. They won't be using the Ozarks. There is a huge building over there, 72,000 squares. Nobody's going to use that damn thing. The government can't go underground. They must stay on the surface. So if you then, when you log on and you begin to earn your money, you're going to order your parcels. You won't get your parcel. Not as it is. Because not only you, but another 10,000 others, they are doing the same thing. And then the volume increases, and we are not ready for the new system. But we are not ready because of the incompetence of the government, not because they can't do the work. There is a distinction from not doing the work or being incompetent. The system is workable, the work can be done, but the existing government is incompetent. So, volume. So as far as this technology is concerned, make sure you have a basic line, either a landline or a standard telephone, and then invest in a decent computer. The rest of it, it is your job to make sure, force this government to do what they should be doing. Because you are making a strategy of your future. You have to have the ports updated. You have to have the airports updated. You have to have then the lanes of the trucks then updated. Otherwise you can't use your earnings. People have to start to get a hold of themselves. They have to start owning their country. They can't anymore rely on a government. They are incompetent. You have to make yourself competent and understand there is a system coming where volume is the utmost. So then you force the government. Make sure they charge taxes properly. So then your services can be then covered. So then you can get your packages. If those ports, they don't get updated, if they don't update the roads, if they don't update the aircrafts or then the airports for the amount of volume, then you won't be able to receive your parcel. By then, as per IMF prediction, the US monetary system is going down. The government won't be able to pay the people anymore. Try to understand the ruining of the monetary system in order for the Chinese system then to take over. We have to have those updates so then we can receive our packages. But as you can observe from the politics, they are not doing the job. And people are blind in playing around with technology, thinking that through confusion, somewhere, someplace, then they are going to get out of it. How are they going to get out of it if it comes with rational thinking? So you worked your entire life and you have a nice savings, and then the system comes, you invest in the system and you earn even more. Then you order what you want and you don't receive it. Are you going to get angry? Absolutely, you're going to get angry. And the government is going to get the end of the shaft because of it. That's why then the media, they're going to be absolutely on top of the government. Every time they make a mistake, is exposed. That's why you have UQC over there in New Zealand being exposed, because they are absolutely scoundrels. And New Zealand government wants their system, their subsystem clean. That's why the information then is exposed. So they can observe how rotten these people are. Expose their rots. So it's no longer wishing for a nicer government, is then the people forcing the government to do their work. We must have updating of our ports, updating of the airports, understanding the roads, what it takes to get the volume delivered. So let's try to work together and start earning ownership of our own country. Because the government at the end, if it does not get done, they're going underground. But the problem is they can't go underground. In either way, if they go underground or not, are you going to receive your package?